Once year 2 began and I finally took my first dive into tier 2, I have to say that, man, I was pretty surprised at how hard it was to take down some of the ads in that mode. Like, most of the things that you're taking out are just complete damage, or cannon sponges, I guess I should say. And it just hasn't been, as fun as year 1 was, right? Like, the builds I did last year were just really, most of them were pretty specific for what they did, but they did it really, really good. And then, when I bring them over here to tier 2, they just haven't had that same oomph that I've wanted. Well, it took a lot of tweaking, a lot of moving of knobs and furniture and hammering things on and off, but if you've been watching on screen, then you can probably agree that I might be on to something with my newest build. Now, I do have to thank the Honorless event for this, because not only is it one of the better events that we've had as far as, you can farm it whenever you want. You just sail up to the event and fire it up as long as you have 10 of the sigil buoys. But I love how many enemies pop out once you start the event. And that whole situation has helped me just fine-tune this build, because I could just run this if I got washed or if I ran it and it just took me too long to get through it. I could go back to my outpost, tweak some things around, and then come back out here and do it again. So I love how this has been set up. But the weapons that I got from this are also another reason why this build is so good, specifically the Divine Wind. If you have already put these in your warehouse because you don't think they're that good, if you have a Sambuk, chances are you may be pulling those things out of your warehouse almost immediately, if not sooner. Now, we are taking advantage of the Sambuk's ability to pretty much just set multiple ships on fire at the same time. Its main perk is called Scorched, and it deals 5,000 burning damage when you apply the Ablaze effect to an enemy ship. Ablaze will also be applied to enemies in 150 meters within that ship, and it increases damage to ships with the Ablaze effect by 30%. Once you get to ship level 6 of 7, you get Firebug, and that allows Ablaze to deal 100% more damage, but lasts 50% of the duration. Also decreases fire weapons reload time by 12%. Now, the Firebug perk has changed a little bit this year, but it still gives us the decreased fire weapons reload time of 12%, and we still get that increase to damage once a ship is ablazed by 30%. And if we happen to destroy a ship, we also are getting another 25% damage bonus from our Buccaneer's Oath armor. Yes, this activates something called Blood and Gold, and as long as you're destroying ships, this perk will stay active. But if there's no ships around, and once you destroy your last ship, you're basically on a 30-second timer of this increased damage of 25%. Also, you're getting 25% more armor as well. Now, our first pair of furniture is going to help our ablazed or burning status effects. We have Quick Igniting Powder, which is going to increase the charge rate of the ablaze status effect on a target by 8% and increase the duration of this ablazed status effect by 8%. We cut it in half, so we're going to boost it up just a smidge, but you'll see we'll get a little bit more from something else. Also, Devil's Concoction, which increases the secondary damage of burning weapons and the range of burning weapons. Now, my burning weapons on the ship are the Blue Spectre, but I've also went out of my way to add in some burning to my Divine Wind. Yeah, I have Incendiary added into these, and now I have converted my electric weapons into also being burning weapons, so they take advantage of all of these burning perks that I'm going to add onto the ship. Now, since the Divine Winds are electric, our next pair of furniture pieces are going to help out that. We have the Amber Station, which is going to increase the charge rate of the Stormstruck status effect by 8% and increase the duration of the Stormstruck status effect by 8%, of course. Charge stores. This is also a secondary piece that helps you when you trigger Stormstruck. Once that happens, your next attack gets a 50% damage boost. It increases the charge rate of the Ablaze status effect by 10%, so now we're up to 68% from 50, and we're getting another 5% added into our electric damage. The Stormstruck thing is a little hard to time because you'll be seeing me doing a massive amount of just bombards out there. But again, if they're on fire, if I've destroyed a target, now my next attack is going to get a 50% damage boost. And since we're boosting damage, we may as well boost it a little bit more. With the Ramrod Workshop, we'll get an increase to our secondary broadside damage by 10%, but we also decrease the reload time of our broadside weapons by 15%. Now, fun fact, the Divine Wind, its base reload time on a ship that doesn't have anything to, help boost the or lower the cooldown, you're looking at 7.5 seconds per shot. So once you fire one, you fire the second one, you're waiting 7 seconds before you can fire the third one. At least, if you're using it on the front like I am with that ship. But with all of the cooldown, reload cooldown things that I'm using on this ship, I got it down to 5.48 seconds. Since the Sambuk has 4 gun ports, you can fire these back to back, and that's essentially 4 seconds. Just 1, 2, 3, 4. If you space it out correctly, you can technically just continually fire off and land bombard shots just back to back to back, over and over and over, and it is wildly effective once you start to get into a good loop. And if there's anyone who's a Sambuk main in the watching the video right now, jump to the comments to confirm. It is one of the easiest ships to fire bombards from in the first place, because its deck is just so flat. You don't have to worry about trying to look over any part of your ship to land your shots. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. Now, the last piece of furniture is a new piece of major furniture this season. It is the Worm's Breath Churner. Now, the bombards come with explosive too, so they have their own baked in explosive abilities, and this will allow us to eventually trigger shell shock after our excessive amount of bombards that we're going to be doing. Once this happens, the reload time of that ship goes down by 25% for 20 seconds. I like this perk, pretty effective. But we want this increase the secondary damage of explosive weapons by 25%, because that's going to boost the bombards. It's also going to increase the weapon damage of explosive weapons by 5%, so it's just boosting it even more. And this is why the damage that you're seeing on screen is so consistent. It's fast, it's repetitive, and there's not really too much that the ships can do about it. The hardest thing it'll be for you will be just to try to sail a course that's good enough to help you stay alive. But the good news is those times when you do trigger shell shock, you'll be able to help, give yourself a breather. And I believe that's why I was actually able to get through some of these boss fights that I did. Now, as we go back to weapons, we'll start once again with the very first weapon on our bow, the Blue Spectre. Now, this, of course, is a fire weapon, but its main perk or ability is superheated, and it deals an increasing amount of damage when focusing attacks on the same target. I've added in shock, all right? It comes with burning 3, so I get 30% damage as burning damage. But I also have some electric damage added in too. But superheated doesn't increase burning damage, it just increases damage. So it'll increase the amount of electric damage that I'm doing to a ship. Now, my next 2 perks, I've got Amplified Burning and Amplified Electric, and all of these perks start out, as what you see here, 258 and 88, but it increases as I do damage to a target, and of course, I usually try to target the weak points. For my Divine Winds, I have Incendiary, Amplified Electric, and I went with Blast Range. This will increase my blast radius, and I believe that this is also increasing the blast radius effectiveness of the lightning bolt. See, the whole deal with the Divine Wind is, of course, you get yourself an electric cannonball, but regardless of if you hit the target or hit around the target, 2 seconds later, lightning is going to strike at that location. If it hits the target, it's going to get hit with 2,000 electric damage. The idea here is that's just going to go to charging your Stormstruck, which is something that is crucial to this build. On the rear, Piercing Demi Cannon 3. This gives us just piercing 2, but I really want it because it increases damage to weak points by 75%. I've just shoved all electric perks on this. I got Shock, Amplified Electric, and Second Storm, which will spread the electric damage done to one ship over to other ships and adds in a little bit more electric damage. Since demi cannons are just super easy for you to hit an entire broadside of weak points, I like doing this because it just allows me to fire in a massive amount of electricity into a ship. And you knew you were going to see it, the Infernal Maw. So of course, with my modifications, I'm just boosting the burning damage. Comes with burning 3, so that's 30% damage. I have incendiary and amplified burning to boost that even more. And then I went with the durable buoys, that way my buoys last longer. That should be a no-brainer to anybody that has this weapon, because you do sometimes end up missing a chance to set off that explosion, so that gives you just a little while longer to land that. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Maw, they're actually available right now in the Smugglers Network. They set enemies on fire or ablaze immediately. So you can put out the minefield and ships can run into the minefield and damage themselves. But when that explosion goes off, if a ship is in that radius, it becomes ablazed instantly. And if a ship happens to be ablaze, it takes what at least the description says is heavy damage over time. Now, I also have Stormstruck working for me. Stormstruck's whole thing, it works similar to Ablaze. Once a ship is Stormstruck, it starts to, generate electricity from itself, and it'll arc this off to other ships. Every time it arcs this off to another ship, it takes damage. The ship is already taking damage from the ablazed, and now it's taking extra damage from every time it arcs off to another ship. But it takes even more damage the more ships are around. So at the beginning of all of these encounters, when you see these ships absolutely getting melted, the first ship is almost immediately deleted because it's surrounded by a bunch of ships and it's taking a just maximum amount of Stormstruck damage from those arcing targets, in addition to the heavy burning damage that it's getting from Ablaze. All you have to do in this ship is try to do your best to space out your buoys, your Infernal Maw buoys. You don't want to always use them back to back because, you're going to have to wait for both of them to regenerate. But if you space it, do one and then fire another one a little while later, it'll help you keep a ship on fire. And then because the Divine Wind has its electricity, of course, from the attack itself, and then from the giant lightning bolts that are coming down 4 at a time, yeah, you're going to be able to ideally keep a ship completely on fire and Stormstruck the entire time, or at least the majority of the time, which just works in your favor 100%. Now, when it comes to the bow and stern, I expect most of you captains are just gonna make the choice to get rid of the demi cannon and the Blue Spectre and go with bombards all the way around. I am not mad at you. That is actually going to be very effective. More Stormstruck, more incendiary if you can actually get the rolls and stuff to work in your favor. But don't sleep on my Blue Spectre, all right? Again, it's just the way that it is set up. It does a good job of just pumping Ablaze and Stormstruck into a ship immediately. And if you're lucky enough to burn a weak point, does some pretty good damage. I've seen thousands of damage just pour off of a ship while you're doing it. So damn good, but again, dealer's choice when it comes to these builds at the end of the day. I'm just here to help you get through the door. It's up to you to walk through it. But this build has been fun. It's been a pain in the ass to try to put something this effective together. But once I finally landed on this, man, I'm definitely not turning away from it. Like all last week while I was putting together the last pieces of the bark build for support, I've just really been loving just playing that build because I find, running support to be quite fun and enjoyable. But I'm probably putting the support away for the rest of this week, and you'll be seeing me running around in this sand because this is just too good. But jump into the comments, let me know how you feel about it, what you think. Also, shout out to I think it was K2 Gamer Shorts. Hey, appreciate you for jumping in the comments and letting me know that you've been checking out my bark build. Hey, anybody that checks those things out or even passes the video along to anyone else, all of that is very much appreciated. So whether you comment, like, or do anything, I thank you for coming by and hanging out with us. But that'll do it, Captains. We will be live this weekend for the community alliance stream. So if you think you want to crew alliance stream, so if you think you want to come to sail with us, feel free. We will be doing it at 3 p.m. Pacific. My name has been Captain Cash the Stampede, and as always, we'll see you in the seas. Take it easy, Captain.